Welcome to the Temple of Flame. On today, Faith Black Lights, we take a look at this. And from Brushfire Farms, we have their original pepper jam. And we've got, what have we got in here? We've got red bells. Yes! We've got chili Pekin. We've got chili de arbol. Just those two. So Pekin and de arbol. Neat. So it's probably not going to be very hot, but look at this. This is really pretty. Wow, and it is full. Like, that was full right to the cap. Wow. I've done one other one from Brushfire as well. I believe it was their peach pepper jam. You can look around for that as well. I might... We'll see how many of the jellies I wind up with doing. I might put these... These are either going to be in the Everything Sweet playlist or possibly in, I might put them in with the hot honeys and syrups. I'm not 100% on that yet. Just depends on how many I wind up with in each of those things when I decide that I'm pretty close to the end. I still have a few more jellies to go, so we don't have a final tally. What is this? What are these things? I think it's just part of the jelly. Yeah, I think it's just part of the, or I mean part of the peppers rather. I mean, obviously, it's part of the jelly. So they're calling it a smoky heat. My guess is that any heat here is going to be very, very minimal. Definitely a lot of peppers here. The hottest one is probably the Pekin, but it's not, that is not a particularly hot pepper. So this is probably going to be pretty much on the mild side. But it was kind of fast. I mean, it looks, all the pepper pieces look like they floated up to the top. That's actually kind of what that looks like. What's fascinating to me is just there's a lot more out there than I realized. All right. So, we should probably just get into it, huh? Oh, that is unpleasant. It's super gritty. We're going to need to get into this a bit, I think, before we get to the good stuff. So... we are going to be doing, of course, usual cheese and crackers. However, we got Havarti and we've got cheddar this time out. However, that grittiness I am not fond of. So let me try to put it where I can mask it a little bit, kind of blend it with some other stuff. So it says to go with grilled meats. So what I have here is, this is actually a ground pork. I was going to get hamburger. Hamburger is, well, it's very expensive as I film this. I went to the store today and I went, well, that's not going to work, clearly. We all know why. We all know why. Just gotta love incompetence. All right. So let's see how it does on grilled pork. I've never actually attempted it this way before. I do think it would work a little bit better with red meat, if I'm being honest. There's only so much gouging I can take. Right now we have an interesting situation where the powers that be at the moment don't want, they explicitly don't want corporate gouging to stop. Rather, they want to be the direct beneficiaries of it rather than the corporations. And they can't really outright demand tribute. That's what they want. That's what the main person there wants to do. He wants tribute. He wants protection money. That's not possible. You can't give too much of the game away. So, instead we have this tariff business. Meanwhile, we're also throwing all the cheap labor out of the country as fast as we can, right? So companies are getting it at both ends. And I don't have any sympathy for them. This is their own fault. In a way. They don't have public sympathy because they've been gouging so heavily and so hard since the pandemic. So now there's no public sympathy, which they don't deserve anyway. It's a pretty rummy state of affairs. But all this leads to is higher prices for you and me. Such as on hamburger. To be honest, grilled pork or the ground pork wasn't a lot cheaper, but I thought it would be interesting. It is certainly that. It is very interesting. So pairing it with this jelly, I'm getting a very slight spark of heat. Not anything crazy, just a slight one. The flavor is pretty good. I do like the flavor of this. All right, let's get to the crackers. Finally went out and found my favorites. Bretons. These are by far the best crackers out there. It's not even close. And so we're going to do the usual stuff. We're going to try it with two cheeses, crackers only. If I can manage to get this open without ruining it. Always a little bit of a trick here with these packages. The nice thing about these two is the plastic is heavy enough that it's not just going to tear all the way down like it does with more cellophane type. Let's see. We'll put some crackers there. All right, cheddar and Havarti may go. Okay, here we go. Just the jelly and the cracker. Hopefully we got that grit out of the way so we get a good feel for this. Yeah, it's a very sweet jelly. It actually just tastes like essentially sweet jelly. There is some cheese flavor in there, but not a lot. Some chili flavor, rather, cheese flavor. There's some chili flavor in there, but not as much as I would have thought. And I wonder if that's just because we had that stuff kind of floating up towards the top and rather than being suspended throughout. I'm going to put more on. I'm putting more on this time. Yeah. It actually kind of reminds me of a roasted red pepper sort of flavor. Obviously, there's no bits of that in there, but with a back current, a very, very slight heat. I really thought the chili was going to be a lot more forward in this. I do like this, but this is I mean, it's just more like just a sweet jelly than anything else, I think, for me. All right, let's bust out some Havarti. I do like me a good Havarti. That's too much. Hold on there. Uh-oh. Broken glue. That's okay. The glove's not that important. All right, let's flip it over so we have a sandwich here. Oh, wow. Mmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. There we go. It's really interesting. This goes extremely well with Havarti. Havarti is just a great cheese. Just a great, great cheese. And of course, the classic medium cheddar. Easily one of my more favorite cheeses. Man, that was good with that Havarti. Holy moly. I should have brought some bread. What I did with some of the other ones, sometimes I'll have like cheese and jelly sandwiches. Or toasted jelly, rather. That is the ticket. That is super good. All right, medium cheddar. The heat is so inconsistent here. I actually got a little bit of a slightly spicy bite there. It was better with the Havarti. Realistically, this is not going to be much more than a default one as far as heat goes. Let's not kid ourselves. That little spark though there was super nice. Okay. It's really interesting that it merged very nicely with that Havarti. And with the cheddar, it was quite separate. Very, very odd. Okay, I think we're probably done with that. This is the last one we're going to do here. Good old classic peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Only on crackers. Only on the greatest crackers in the world, the Bretons. We don't want... Peanut butter can really overpower jelly in a hurry. So I try just to use it super sparingly here. Thank you for your service. Back over there. All right, peanut butter and jelly to round it out. You can bite through. Look. And it's still, oh man. Oh. Oh, wow. That is super, super good. This is a really curious concoction. Really curious choice of peppers. The pekins are clearly for heat. The red bells and the arboles more for flavor. And I think it works out pretty well, actually, overall. There is a certain grittiness to it that I don't like. And I find it really fascinating. It was fine. It would have been better with a burger, I think, but it was fine on that grilled pork. The cheddar, it was okay. Where it really shone was with that very mild, soft Havarti and with peanut butter. Like, it is very, very nice in those two settings. I am going to try it out with regular hamburger probably at some point as well. But the smokiness they're suggesting here is very minimal, if at all. Like, it's super, super light. This is a fascinating approach. Definitely it sort of stands out amidst the other jellies that I've done. But I think so for me, I kind of wish they would refine it a little bit more. Get rid of the grit. Just, if you want pieces of the pepper, just have the flesh and the placenta. Whatever that grit is in there, get that out. Because that actually detracts from the jelly. And I would like to see a little bit of smokiness. I think would be really interesting here. And I would say probably don't use cider vinegar. Use an actual decent tasting vinegar for why are you using vinegar here, I don't know, but that would be kind of my take on this. But overall, pretty solid, kind of surprising. Default one for heat. Heat is very, very minimal here. But I think this is a really interesting approach to the idea of pepper jellies. And yeah, I think it's pretty solid overall. Definitely worth a look if you're into that kind of thing. We'll just leave it right there. So that was the Brushfire Farms original pepper jam. Now go forward in peace to serve the flame.